Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, carrying on with the 60th anniversary Optima Mid, and I think we got up to number 14 last time, so this will be 15 until we run out of time. I don't want to make these videos too long because it gets a bit difficult to watch, but I also don't want to leave out art because these instructions are, certainly parts of them are more aimed at the advanced builder. So if anybody's got this and they're struggling, I want them to be able to follow. So let's bring in for a close-up look, and we shall start at part 15 and see where we get to. Right, so starting at number 15. Now you can get some optional parts on this. I believe you can get plus 1mm or plus 2mm hex drives for it. It says 2 plus 1mm, so 2mm maybe. They are OTW 127. You can also get these uprights in gunmetal aluminium, and they are OTW 116 GMB. But as I say, for the time being on this at least, we're just running standard parts. So let's have a look what it says about building this. So it looks like we're going to need a drive shaft through first. Then we're going to need a little spacer. So we need the red spacer. Then it looks like we're going to need a bearing. Then we're going to need the right hand hub. Then we're going to need another bearing. Then it's telling us to fit the hex, and on these you want the ring to the inside. It's usually like that just so it helps it run on the inner race. And it's not asking us to thread lock these, so I believe it's a 2mm hex. So I want a fastener's pin in. Then we're going to need to place our shims inside our C-hub. Then we're going to need to place the hub inside, so you just need to make sure your shims are sat all the way back, which can be a bit fiddly. But once you get them somewhere near, we're then going to need a bit of thread lock on these. And you don't need to go crazy tight tying these down because your thread lock's going to hold them in position. So that is one fully assembled, and let's quickly get the second one done. To the best that I can tell from these instructions, that is the way round we should be building these. As I say, to start off with at least, I've got the R on the back there, and I've got the R on the top. There's none on bottom. But it doesn't actually show you a clear picture in instructions or any way of telling which way round these hubs go. So hopefully we don't end up having to swap them. We shouldn't, but the L and R should match up to the hub that it's on. So let's crack on, see what else we've got. So we've got our hubs all assembled. Now we need to do our arms. The front ones are the ones with the little nicks in them. I don't believe the rear ones have it. Just check them. No, I don't think the rear ones have got the little nicks in them. So we've got these little parts that we're going to have to pop through and then get a clip on the back of them. So just sit that through on both arms. And then we've got the bigger of the clips, and we somehow got to squeeze that onto the back. So that one's gone on not too bad. Let's see if we can get this one to go in. And I must admit, I'm not a huge fan of these little clips. Once they're on, they don't seem too bad, but they can be a bit awkward and a bit fiddly. So next thing we're going to have to do is get our hubs assembled onto them. So we've got a hub, and then we've got a pin, and the pin goes through from front to back. And then again on the end of these, yet another tiny little clip. Definitely not my favourite part of assembling any of these type of kits. But that's one assembled. So then we're going to need to do the same for his left hand side one. So that's the second side on. Once we got all that in place, I can still see we've got some more of these, and I'm not really looking forward to fitting them. But now we should be able to get our drive shafts in place. It's telling us we need a little bit of grease, so let's grease the end of the drive shafts up. So once we've got them done, then we should be able to get these into position. And if you just spin your drive shafts, should line it up and it should pop in. So now we're going to need our retaining plate, and this has got the countersunk holes facing outwards. So you're going to slip that over each side. Then we've just got a small screw. Then we've got the other one to put in. And then we've just got to get these two little E-clips, one on either one of them. And I'm going to do them off camera because it's going to be fiddly. So I'll get they tightened down, get the E-clips on, and then see what we've got next. So if all goes to plan, that's what you should end up with. Your two little E-clips on, two screws in, front plate on, and then our suspension should work. But if you do lose one of these little things, because one of mine shot off that way at about 200 miles an hour, luckily in the spares bag they do give you two extra ones. So we've only had to use one so far, but we've still got to assemble the rear, so there's going to be at least another two, maybe four of them. So yeah, might have to go and find that other one, but at the moment that's where we're at. So let's carry on. Right, so we're going to be building the tie rods up. Now you can get an optional stabilizer bar kit for the mid, which is OTW 135, and they do the front part in carbon. That's part of a kit, front and rear part, and I believe it's got the stay that comes from the bulkhead on the back. That's OTW 138. Now these are all kit standard parts, but you can get the titanium adjustable rod, and that is part 92413. They do the lightweight balls for it, and they are W0201H, and they do the hardened ends, and they are LA43HRB 5.8mm ball ends in hard. Now the weird thing on the instructions, it says we should have a little dot on these, which these don't, but you do have like one shiny ring and the other side is all matte, so I'm guessing the shiny one is the side you pop the ball in. But we need to build two of these up, and these need to be 22.5mm gap between them, and it does give you the tool to help build these up. So I believe it's the 5.5mm. So you should be able to pop that in, hold it, and then just screw the ends on. So I'll get these built up to 22.5mm and we'll carry on. So once we got these built up to 22.5mm, we've got the little shiny ring on that side and facing us. So we should now be able to drop these balls into place. So they don't seem to be too problematic to get in. Just make sure they clip all the way down. And they do seem to go in really easy from the shiny ringed side, so I take it that's the way they're meant to go. But let's crack on. So moving along on this one, so we're going to need one 15mm screw. Then we're going to put it through the ball joint on here. Then we're going to need one of these tapered shims facing the actual little ball. And the way it's showing you to put it is the circle, sort of the shiny circle facing in and up. So once we've got that into place, we're going for the topmost of the triangle holes. So we need to get that in there, and then we're going to put a locking nut on it. So it's not asking for any thread lock or anything, and it is a locking nut, so we can quickly get that bit screwed down. Then once we've got that in, we're going for another 15mm screw, and at this point make sure your drive shafts are where they should be. So it's telling us to go for a 15mm screw in here, which does seem a bit long, but that's what it's telling us to go with. And then we need to do exactly the same for this side. And don't go crazy tight on these, because they are very fine thread just into a plastic hub, and it'd be easy to strip your threads out of that one. So once they're in place, we can flip this over. Then we have our bumper that we need to fit. So you have got like a little cutout. Well, let's that go in. And again, it's telling us we need 15mm screws. So I'll quickly get these two screwed in. And that's what we should look like. We've got the two screws in bottom. We've got the top links fastened on, so we've now got our steering. The screws do stick through quite a bit, but they don't come anywhere near the actual arms, so we should be good. So let's carry on. So moving along to building up the rear hubs, you can get optional universal drive shafts for these. They are OTW 125C, and you need the little spacer with them. Like we had on the front, the little red spacer will be needed. You can get the aluminium rear hubs. They are OTW 117 GMB. And let's carry on. So we're going to need to assemble this. So we're going to need a bearing and then one of his hubs. The hubs are lettered L and R, so you know which one you're meant to be working with. Does make life a little bit easier. And then once we've got these assembled, then going to line up the hole, and we're just going to drop one of these little pins in. And you will need the 2mm hex driver again. And as we're building these, make sure you've got the little raised bit on the hex drive facing inwards. And if you want to make sure your bearing's seated, you can just pop your bearing in and then just shove it in with the sort of drive shaft from the opposite side. And then again, we just need to make sure we tighten our hex down. And there we have 2 assembled rear hubs. So, see what else we've got. So, carrying on, we're going to need these little inserts with the 2 lines facing the outside. So, if we pop that in there, and then we get one of his arms, and then we're going to need to pop this through. So once you've got that in, then we're going to have to get another of these horrible little clips. Then once you've got his little clip in, we're going to need a 2mm hex driver and a little tiny grub screw. And you just screw this into the side, and you don't have to do this mega tight. It just kind of screws down just to take the side to side play out of it, so your hub's not moving anywhere. So once we've got that, we need to do the same to the opposite side. Again, with 2 little lines facing outwards. So once we've got them in, we can bring the RC back, and then we've got to get an arm on either side. So you can just about get your fingers down inside these to hold the pin, stop it moving. So once you've got that in place, then we can slide this end plate over, and then you're just going to want to get 2 of the retaining screws in, and these are the little dome headed ones this time. And then we've just got to put the last 2 E-clips on the end of these hinge pins. So I'll get that done and then see what else we got. Right, so that's what we should end up with. 2 little E-clips on, as little screws in, as back plate, and as arms fastened on that way. The suspension arms have the 1 hole towards the rear, and as hub should be on, with a few degrees toe-in by the looks of it. But let's see what else we've got. So we're now getting on to assembling the rear turnbuckles. These want to be 30mm or 3cm gap between them, and the shiny ring or the dot, depending on which parts you've got in your kit, should be facing the same way. So we'll get them assembled and then carry on. So we've got these built up to 30mm, 3cm, and then we just need to pop the balls in. And if your kit's anything like mine, in the instructions it tells you you've got a little dot on these, but on mine you've got a shiny circle. And again with these, they do hop up parts, so the titanium adjuster rod 38mm are part 92413. The lightweight balls are W0201H, and the hardened ends are LA43HRB. So let's crack on. So first thing I think we're going to need to do on this is, while this is off, it's probably easier to get to. So we need to get our adjustable tie rods, and we're going to need a 15mm screw. So we're going to put that into this. So once we've got us 15mm screw through there, we're going to need our tapered washer or shim facing the ball. Then we're going to drop that through, and we're going to want it on the innermost hole at the top. So once we've got that in, we can then tighten that down. It's going to be a 2mm hex. So that's got one side assembled. So if we flick to the other side, we need the 15mm screw. We need our little shim. Need to drop it through the uppermost hole. Then again, we're going to need the lock nut. And once you've got them screwed into position, we should be able to drop the suspension into place. Then we're going to need 2 screws. So we need to get these 2 screws screwed down, so I'll get them done. So once we've got these into place, we've got these ready for going on, we've got us 12mm screws, we just need to drop our drive shafts into place, and it's asking for us to pop a little bit of grease on these first. So let's get that done. Then we should be able to get these little balls to go through, and we want a 12mm screw, and again, don't go crazy tight with these, else you're going to end up stripping the threads because it's just a plastic hub. So that's one in position. And just looking at it on these, I think I've done them to 30mm and these should be 33. So I'll adjust them out because it's going to be a bit tight on this side, because that's where the little stop is for the diff, which we put in right at the beginning. So I'll back these off to 33mm and then we should be able to get these on. Right, so we now got these at 33mm and not 30, and that should screw in a lot easier. So I think we'll call it a day there. We've got quite a bit more done. We got the front and rear suspension all built up now, or the arms at least. We've got our drive shafts in and everything's running nice and smoothly. So let's call it a day. So that's from parts 14 to 22 I believe we've done on this. Only lost one little E-clip. It kind of went down here somewhere. I heard it land. It's not the first one that's gone down that way. Can't remember which car it were, but one of the other bits did. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this build so far. It looks nice and solid. Don't seem to be getting any issues with it. But thanks again for watching WTF Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Share to friends and family. And catch you guys again in the next one.